Hi there traders, this is Steve Miley, the market chartist for FX Explain and our regular weekly MacroWatch update for the week commencing the 30th of November 2020. Markets keep the party going despite surging US COVID-19 cases. So we're going to kick off with the macroeconomic and geopolitical developments for the past week. I'm going to start off by looking in the US, and the presidential transition of power has started. Joe Biden's team being given access to the presidency by Donald Trump in here, moving that transition of power forward, which is seen as a positive for the markets. Alongside this, Biden has also announced Janet Yellen will be his Treasury Secretary, which has also buoyed financial markets. And also we're seeing in here hopes from the 3 vaccines after positive trials continue to lift markets higher, the equity markets particularly higher, risk currencies higher. Pfizer, Moderna and University of Oxford, Astra Zeneca all putting out positive results from their vaccine trials throughout November, and certainly keeping markets in a very, very, very positive outlook as we run into the end of the month and early December, the end of 2020. If we turn to the daily new COVID-19 cases, however, European COVID-19 cases are improving. We're seeing a plateauing of cases, in some cases a falling of cases in here, and certainly cases not rising to the extent they were previously in October, November. However, the US remains a significant concern. The EU-UK trade talks have resumed with mixed messages coming from those, but overall the footing seems to be positive and the markets are viewing this as positive, with real hopes of an agreement to be made before the end of this year. So let's take a look at the global financial market developments for the last week ending the 27th of November 2020. While the Dow Jones hit a new all-time high and also got above the 30,000 psychological barrier in here over the past week, which is seen as a definite positive. And European markets also pushing higher, making new cycle highs in here. The strong rally through November extending last week and getting close to peaks seen previously in September, and maybe even targeting into December the all-time highs there here for the DAX back from February. If we look at the New Zealand dollar in here, amongst the risk currencies leading the way higher, going to yet another new multi-year high, pretty much surging straight higher right the way through this past month, through November. And the Australian dollar also solid in here, getting very close to that September peak, again close to a multi-month, multi-year high for the Aussie dollar versus the US dollar. The US dollar remains the weakling in here, breaking just below that September low in here. So the US dollar index highlighting broad US dollar weakness. And the pound generally stays strong. We've had a slight dip at the end of last week just from this 134 resistance barrier, but pointing higher, and had a strong move in here throughout November, and reflecting hopes on those EU-UK trade deal. Copper surging at the end of last week, surging throughout November and hitting new multi-year highs. The price of copper in here reflecting the whole risk on theme and hopes for the global economy. And oil similarly pushing still higher throughout last week, overcoming peaks last seen in August at levels not seen since March of this year, with an OPEC meeting, which we'll discuss shortly in here, coming up at the beginning of this week. And gold is the loser in here at the moment, more negative for gold in here, not really correlating so much with its inverse correlation to the dollar, now more reflecting the risk on, risk off environment and being sold off as a safe haven. So let's take a look at the week ahead, the week commencing the 30th of November 2020. Well, first of all, there is an OPEC meeting, as I just mentioned there, on Monday and Tuesday. And then we're going to continue to watch for new vaccine announcements, any progression with the regulatory side of the vaccines that we have on the table at the moment. And then further to that, we're going to be monitoring COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations and deaths, still very much in the spotlight across Europe, but increasingly so in the US, particularly with Thanksgiving potentially a super spreader event. We're going to monitor new lockdown announcements, particularly potentially from the US. We've had some more of those come through from over the weekend. And we're going to watch out for any further transition of power progress. On the central bank side, having a look at our central bank bots, we have the Reserve Bank of Australia interest rate decision and statement coming on Tuesday, and then Jerome Powell testifies to Congress on both Tuesday and Wednesday of this coming week. So let's take a look at the data. That OPEC meeting, as I say, Monday, Tuesday. Chinese manufacturing and non-manufacturing PMI also on Monday with German CPI. Probably the big spotlight on the week is going to be on the global market manufacturing PMI data we have on Tuesday. And then Thursday, we have the service sector PMI. We have that RBA interest rate decision and statement also Tuesday, German unemployment report, and the US ISM manufacturing PMI with Jerome Powell testifying in his first of his testimonies to Congress on Tuesday. Wednesday brings Australian GDP, German retail sales, the US ADP employment change, and again Jerome Powell testifying again in front of Congress, while Thursday brings us that global market services PMI, also United States ISM, Institute of Supply and Management Services PMI, and the weekly jobless claims data. And finally, we end up the week with the Canadian employment report, but all eyes are going to be on that US employment report. I'm going to wish you a great trading week. Please stay safe out there, and I'll be back with you next week for another Macro Watch. So traders, don't forget to catch us on the next FX Explained Macro Watch and all the great content on fxexplained.co.uk.